Hey guys, so I was stupid enough to turn on Rush Limbaugh the other day again on my way to work, and I heard him talking about Sandra Fluke, the Georgetown law student who testified to in favor of providing contraception to law students in schools such as Georgetown, which is a Jesuit/Catholic institution. The point of what she was saying is that a lot of people could benefit from contraception, and much to my surprise, due to my ignorance, is that contraception could be used for things other than pregnancy. Now, don't ask me why they call it contraception if it could be used for something else, but that's still what they call it. I don't know why they don't just call it hormonal pills, or why don't they prescribe hormonal pills as hormonal pills with the unwanted side effects of reducing pregnancy. Instead, we're told that contraception is the primary purpose to prevent pregnancy with other positive or negative side effects. So the way you market something is pretty important. So just when you're trying to sell something, make sure you emphasize the right point. Anyway, the way Rush Limbaugh was taking her speech out of context, anybody who heard what she said, would have thought either Georgetown law students are extremely horny or they don't know how to use condoms. Because from what she said, what you would have heard was a law student without insurance coverage has to pay about $1,000 a year or $3,000 in 3 years for contraception. And, well, let's assume that that was true, that contraception indeed costs $3,000. That's still kind of laughable to be begging and complaining about, because law students typically spend $100,000 for tuition alone. I mean, not counting board, not counting anything else. And in fact, $3,000 for 3 years is well below the typical expenditure of law students for caffeine or alcohol, either of them. And definitely, if you combine them, definitely less. And just to be honest with you, birth control, contraception, caffeine, alcohol are not necessities. Until you hear the full context of Sandra Fluke's testimony. She brought up an example, something that I've never heard of, and I think most Americans should deserve to hear. She said, now granted this might be an extreme and unrepresentative example, and for her to use that as an argument to beg for contraception is slightly unrepresentative, and some may consider dishonest. That doesn't necessarily justify public funding, but she does make a very good point that contraception or hormonal pills are good for something other than pregnancy. So her example was that a female student who's gay, so obviously pregnancy isn't an issue. A female student who is gay had ovarian cysts, or I'm not sure singular or plural. The point was she had some condition in her ovaries, and she could have benefited greatly from contraception pills or hormonal pills. And this was her opportunity to tell Americans and Congress that somebody could greatly benefit from hormonal pills, contraception pills, for something other than pregnancy. But she blew it. She blew it by saying that a student without insurance coverage could cost as much as $3,000 over 3 years. And so everybody in the world is laughing at her, thinking, are you that fucking horny that you have to have sex that many times? Do you not know how to use condoms? Does sex really cost $3,000 for 3 years? And even if it does, is it really that big of a deal? See, had she just said contraception or hormonal pills, there's got to be a better euphemism for contraception pills, are a necessary or critically beneficial medication that would benefit all women, even many who do not engage in sexual intercourse and have no intention of avoiding pregnancy. The contraception pills are beneficial for all these people, and it does not have to be for the purpose of preventing pregnancy. She might have sold some congressmen, but instead, now she's back to kind of square one. Now everybody is back to thinking contraception pills are just an alternative to condoms. People who take birth control pills are just trying to have condomless sex. And people who want to spend more money on contraception pills don't know how to use condoms. How horny and stupid and dirty of you. Because contraception pills don't even help prevent STDs. So that's what it sounds like when you don't present something the right way. What contraception pills probably should be presented as are hormonal pills with the unwanted side effects of reducing pregnancy. If you put it that way, people wouldn't be thinking about pregnancy. But if you call it contraception pills, what the hell do you expect people to think of it as? Right? So, my recommendation is don't listen to Rush Limbaugh. If Rush Limbaugh says something so outrageous, listen to it again and try to look for the source. Because he had me there for a minute. I actually thought that a Georgetown student was telling us that they were having too much sex, they can't afford it. That wasn't the case. But I don't entirely blame Rush. I think she could have made a better argument. She could have presented the exact same facts in different words, and she would have been a lot more convincing. Now, this doesn't let Rush Limbaugh and his staff off the hook. They took the time, as most people would, to look up how much condoms would cost. But either they are purposely suppressing the obvious fact that she was talking about people who had no concern about sex and pregnancy, or he didn't listen to the full speech, which is highly unlikely. But neither are excusable. Either he didn't hear the whole thing, or he purposely cherry-picked something to make his argument. Neither are really excusable. So, I'm sorry, Sandra Fluke, you didn't sell as many people as you could have and should have, but everybody else, please take this as a lesson. When the facts are on your side, you owe it to yourself to present it in the most favorable light. You owe it to your audience for them to hear a clear message. And you owe it to your critics not to let them take you out of context, twist your words, and put words in your mouth. I hope everybody learns from Sandra Fluke's testimony, and this doesn't happen again.